Intelligent, conversational, calm, and precise. Not because it was unfinished, because it was too capable in exactly the wrong areas. Now it has a new name, Claude Fable 5. Anthropic says it sits above Opus, can work for hours or even days, and leads across coding, research, vision, and long-running agent tasks. But there is a catch. Sometimes when you choose Fable 5, Fable is not the model that answers you. To understand why this launch feels different, go back to April 2026. Anthropic introduced Project Glasswing, a program that gave selected critical infrastructure defenders access to Claude Mythos preview. The launch group included organizations responsible for software and infrastructure that billions of people use. Intelligent, conversational, calm, and precise. The public could not access it. Anthropic's concern was straightforward. The same model that can find and patch a serious software vulnerability can also make that vulnerability easier to exploit. Then, on June 9th, Anthropic released the core capability to everyone. Mythos 5 remains restricted. Fable 5 is the safeguarded version the rest of us get. This is not Opus 5. Anthropic describes Mythos as a capability class above Opus. Fable is the first generally available release from that higher tier. That distinction matters because most AI launches still focus on better answers. Fable is being positioned around larger units of work. Most AI demos hide the same problem. They show the beginning. The prompt goes in, code appears, the interface looks impressive. Then the video cuts away. Intelligent, conversational, calm, and precise. The expensive part happens next. The agent misunderstood one requirement. It changed unrelated files. A test failed. It claimed the issue was fixed, but never ran the test. 40 minutes later, you are supervising the AI more closely than you would supervise a junior developer. The real frontier is not whether a model can produce a clever answer. It is whether it can hold a goal, use tools, recover from mistakes, verify the result, and keep doing that after the first prompt. Fable 5 is Anthropic's answer to that problem. Anthropic is explicitly telling developers not to judge Fable only on easy tasks. Use a faster, cheaper model for summaries, quick edits, and normal chat. Use Fable for the things sitting in your backlog, because every previous agent needed too much supervision. Intelligent, conversational, calm, and precise. A 1 million token context window, up to 128,000 output tokens, vision, memory, compaction, task budgets, and stronger multi-agent delegation. But the most important feature is not a number, it is duration. Anthropic says difficult requests can run for many minutes, while autonomous sessions can continue for hours. Its prompting guide describes multi-day, goal-directed work with stronger instruction retention than previous Claude models. That changes how AI products need to be built. A spinner is no longer enough. You need progress events, resumable sessions, checkpoints, long timeouts, and a way to inspect what the agent actually completed. This is less like chatting with a model and more like assigning a project. There are 4 capability upgrades that matter most. First, long horizon autonomy. Fable is designed to stay productive across a large code base, decide the next useful step, and validate its own work with fewer human interventions. Second, vision. Anthropic says it can extract precise information from dense scientific figures, work through noisy screenshots, and reconstruct web applications from visual references. Third, memory. Give Fable a place to record useful lessons and it can apply them later. In Anthropic's Slay the Spire experiment, persistent file memory improved Fable's performance 3 times more than it improved Opus 4.8. Fourth, delegation. Fable is more dependable when coordinating parallel subagents. One agent can research, another can test, another can audit, while the main agent keeps track of the overall objective. This is where the phrase AI employee becomes tempting. I would resist it. Intelligent, conversational, calm, and precise. Fable still needs a clear objective, appropriate tool permissions, explicit boundaries, independent verification, and a person accountable for the outcome. It is a more capable agent. It is not an accountable coworker. The strongest launch day example did not come from a benchmark. Independent developer Simon Willison asked Fable to upgrade a MicroPython in WebAssembly project to use full Python. After a small amount of direction, it produced a working wheel containing the Python wrappers, WebAssembly files, and standard library. He then gave it a larger task, add pause and resume approval to an agent framework. Fable implemented the feature, identified 4 supporting problems in his LLM library, fixed them, added tests, and wrote documentation. Willison spent several hours supervising the process. His conclusion was that the output felt like several days of engineering work. That is the realistic use case, not zero human involvement. Human leverage on a task large enough to justify the model's price and patience. Anthropic also showed Fable building a solar system simulation from physics principles, autonomously playing Factorio, creating a browser-based CAD editor with an AI copilot, and coding a fluid simulation synchronized to music. These are curated demonstrations, not average success rates, but together they show the direction. Software generation is moving from isolated code snippets towards complete interactive systems. On Anthropic's published numbers, Fable is at or near the top across almost every category in the system card. It scored 95% on SWE Bench Verified and 80% on the harder SWE Pro. Intelligent, conversational, calm, and precise. On Terminal Bench 2.1, Fable scored 84.3. Anthropic reported Opus 4.8 at 82.7 and GPT 5.5 with the Codex command line harness at 83.4. Fable also posted strong results on BrowseComp, research mathematics, visual reasoning, legal tasks, finance, spreadsheets, and professional document work. Those are serious results. They are not a universal verdict. Anthropic ran most of these evaluations. Harnesses differ. Effort settings differ. Multi-agent runs use more compute. Cost and latency are not captured by a single quality score. And there is an especially important detail in Terminal Bench. Fable triggered a safety refusal in 20.9% of trials and fell back to Opus 4.8 for the rest of those trajectories. So the honest conclusion is not that Fable destroys every competitor. It is that Fable belongs in the top tier, and its advantage appears to grow as tasks become longer, messier, and more agentic. Now we can return to the catch from the beginning. Fable 5 runs separate safety classifiers that look for offensive, cybersecurity, sensitive biology and chemistry, jailbreak attempts, and efforts to extract or distill its internal reasoning. When a classifier triggers, Fable can decline the request. In many cases, the task is automatically handed to Opus 4.8. The interface or API is supposed to report that the fallback occurred. Anthropic says more than 95% of early Fable sessions involved no fallback at all. But Anthropic also admits that the safeguards are deliberately cautious. Benign requests may be caught, especially when they involve security, health, biology, or other dual-use subjects. That is already the loudest complaint in early community discussion. Some developers report ordinary refactoring tasks unexpectedly switching models because the surrounding product operates in a health or security-related domain. Others dislike starting a premium, long-running workflow without certainty that the same model will finish every step. The safeguards are the reason Fable can be public. They are also the reason it may be unusable for exactly the domain where you wanted its intelligence. There are other trade-offs. Fable costs $10 per million input tokens and $50 per million output tokens. That is twice the base token price of Opus 4.8. Intelligent, conversational, calm, and precise. It is also slow enough that interactive pairing can feel frustrating. Anthropic recommends high effort for most demanding tasks, but higher effort can deliberate longer than routine work needs. The first-party Claude API also requires 30-day data retention for Fable and does not offer zero data retention. That can immediately disqualify it for some privacy-sensitive or regulated workloads. Launch day community reactions have a remarkably consistent shape. The praise is that Fable feels calmer, more senior, more independent, and better at finishing difficult code. The criticism is that it is slow, expensive, consumes usage limits quickly, and can be interrupted by aggressive guardrails. That combination makes sense. Fable behaves like a heavyweight specialist. Intelligent, conversational, calm, and precise. You do not use the most expensive specialist to rename a button or summarize a meeting. You call them when the cost of a wrong answer, failed implementation, or week of human supervision is higher than the model bill. So, should you use Fable 5? If you are chatting, summarizing, rewriting, or making a small code change, probably not. Use the faster and cheaper model. If you have a repository-level feature, a deep research question, a complex spreadsheet, a visual reconstruction, or a project that repeatedly defeats other agents, Fable is one of the first models worth testing. My rule is simple. Use Fable for the hardest 5% of your work. Give it a clear objective. State what it must not change. Give it the tools required to verify its work. Require evidence before accepting progress claims. Let it run asynchronously, then audit the result. Intelligent, conversational, calm, and precise. The breakthrough is not that AI can answer more questions. It is that the unit of delegation is getting bigger. Fable 5 also leaves us with a larger question. If the most capable models are too risky to release without identity checks, safety classifiers, logging, fallback systems, and restricted access, intelligence may stop being one product that everyone receives equally. It may become something you qualify to use. Would you trade some model freedom for access to a more capable AI? Tell me where you draw that line. And subscribe to RK Codex because the next AI race is not only about who gives the best answer, it is about who can be trusted to finish the job.